and welcome back to Encounter Proposal, the podcast where two friends make a hypothetical tabletop game one misstep at a time. As always, I am your game master Kyle, joined, of course, by our very own critical failure,
Hello, I'm Will.
and this is going to be our second episode, so welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back to the podcast where we compete to see who can say the most times.
I think we're doing okay so far.
Doing okay, doing okay. Listening back is jarring, but also if we can't even listen to it,
It's not a good start.
what are the peons of the general public gonna do?
Oh, oh
Um,
no.
yeah. So if you didn't listen to last week's episode, impressive. But if you didn't listen to last week's episode, um, we settled on a genre and a sort of general concept for the tabletop.
Yes, we sort of started off with a bit of a uh, dark fairy tale sort of horror as a basis for this hypothetical tabletop that we're sort of getting the ball rolling on.
Yeah. Um, so we were thinking we'd talk about a class system. I'm thinking upper class, middle class,
Oh no!
barbarian.
Oh
I
no!
don't know. I feel like it would be fun to you just like you've got a mage, you've got your paladin, you've got Jacob Rees-Mogg.
Oh, I think people would love that. There's nothing that people want to roleplay more. It's
More
just,
than Brexit discussions.
it's so
Um,
exciting. People love it. People aren't sick of hearing about it.
yeah, it's never the worst, and it's getting better. Yeah. Anyway, classes. Carl, do you want to? You know more than me, so
Yeah, well, I think with classes for this kind of thing, it's because we want to keep it in like a horror style. I think whenever we've done horror one shots in the past, the first thing we've sort of said is like you need to be level one, because if you've ever played any horror tabletop, like Call of Cthulhu is the only one I've really sort of worked with, but I know that Alien, the tabletop, goes in a similar style. Basically, you want like little hit points, little powers for things to sort of be grounded. Because I think the more that you're able to sort of, throw fireballs and break time and space, the more kind of difficult it is for people to be scared in a basic sense.
yeah. I've looked into a lot of slasher tabletops because I'm a big horror nerd, and pretty much all of them are the bad guy has every power you've ever heard of. The good guy has a penknife, um, and maybe a law degree and a push. So, we were thinking just like keep them low profile, and then I want them to ramp up into really powerful. I think that's where we maybe disagree on this.
Potentially. I think it's just because I don't really tend to run into like late game 5th edition. So I don't really like to push power boundaries much. But I'm more than happy to hear out what you're thinking.
I was just thinking, just like push to these people become the points of interest in the fairy tale, as opposed to um, like you start as the protagonist and you end up one of the things of myth. Would be cool.
Yeah, I think that'd be really interesting. I'm thinking like I think the best place to start off with any class for a tabletop is going to be like your marshal. So I think we're going to need the basics for like an attacker, and I think in most of these sort of fables, there's always a sort of like lumberjack or like
Yeah, yeah.
someone who's in the woods nearby that sort of comes to the rescue.
You're like you're Nomad, you're Woodsman, you're Robin Hood, you're uh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't quite know how you do lumberjack class though. You're like go out on a limb, I guess is the ability name.
Yeah,
Um,
I okay, well I think first off you're gonna want them to be like sturdy. So when figuring out health, I think you're gonna want to have it be like the D10 D8 to D12, maybe D10 to D12, if we're trying to figure
Okay,
out
yeah.
like the rolled health. And then with abilities, you're gonna want them to be like
Knowledge of the woods.
yeah, like a big sort of understanding of their surroundings, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's a good way to turn a martial class into a team player, is to give it sort of control support abilities or just basic knowledge of the area, like high history, high survival.
Yeah, maybe even something like rally, like when they sort of come in
Oh, yeah.
and sort of like reassure people as the sort of like yeah, like when they come in to sort of save the day, they sort of not inspire, but like yeah, sort of reassure people and like rally them to continue the fight, sort of thing.
Okay, so like this, like, are we going with like lumberjack or woodsman or folk hero or
Yeah, yeah,
prince in this bit? Because
yeah. I think any of them could fit.
we want it to be open, don't we? We said that last
Yes.
week.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know if we want to really go into like subclasses. I think it should just be like a blank slate that you can pick and then sort of impose any flavor that you really want to like onto them.
Yeah, we keep it loose. I think sub choices are good, like branching paths, but we could do it more like a video game skill tree where if you wanted to like dip your toe in all of them, you could.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds good to me.
I'm trying to think of a tabletop that does that, and I can't think of one. I'm sure
Oh,
there is.
like branching paths.
Yeah, but you don't get locked out of any of them. Everyone I think of, you get locked out
I was
immediately
gonna say I
from the
know
first
quite a
game.
lot you do. I think earlier editions of D&D had the prerequisites for feats, I think it was, or even like subclasses, and they would be quite winding like branches, almost like a video game. I think it was fourth edition that really dug into it, and it was why people didn't like it is because it was so like sort of skill tree esque.
Maybe it's literally a tree, like aesthetically. Maybe it's literally a
Oh,
tree.
that could be really fun. I quite like the sound of that.
And we said we wanted like to have the kind of Call of Cthulhu style, this is your job, and then a class as well, and have them both be valued. What if they're two different trees?
Yeah, that could be really fun.
And what if we make them both quite powerful?
Yeah, so
Like
the
what if they're
sheet,
both as useful as each other?
yeah, so the sheet is like one side's your description, and then sort of broken up is like a top, and on the bottom there's two like trees that you both like sort of break into.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe one goes up, one goes down. I'm thinking in aesthetics, like trees and roots.
No, I
Um,
get what you mean. I think it could work really well.
that could be fun. So, martial class being this kind of Robin Hood style, lumberjacky kind of Little Red Riding Hood savior
Mm.
could be cool. Um, what would you think about a separate martial class?
What do
So, how do
you?
we differentiate? If you wanted two martial on the same team, you
Ah,
know,
yeah, I see what you mean. Trying to think of like other stories where other marshals would have come about. Maybe like a knight,
a knight could be cool.
like the squire running around.
Maybe that's one of the background trees.
Yeah,
You could be like a knight woodsman, and then that kind of gives you high armor, high knowledge of the area. Um, could be cool.
yeah. No, I think that could be really fun.
I was thinking in a lot of fairy tales, there's a cursed character that ends up being quite generally they're strong. They're like physically strong, like Beast from Beauty and the Beast,
That could be
um,
really fun. Yeah.
or like werewolves in Germanic tales.
Mm,
So if we
yeah.
had like a lycanthropy,
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think that would be a really fun sort of like your warlock sort of like counterpart where it's like the muddy sort of moral character in the group where you've got someone who's maybe working for the good side, maybe sort of, doing some funny shit on the side.
yeah, I know we talked about a morality system, but I think we changed it off pod to a fear system, like how afraid you are and how much that changes um your state. Maybe they go into like panic states.
Yeah, yeah. So like the higher your fear gets, the more likely it is that they're gonna sort of like panic revert into their lichen form.
Yeah, that could be really cool. And then the lower fear, the more control you have over it. So it's something like Path of the Beast Barbarian, where you can choose select body parts to transform.
Yeah, yeah. I really like that.
So you've got more control over. That could be fun. I think you tossed around the word afflicted a while ago.
Yes, yeah. Just again to sort of keep it vague so that people can choose, because not everybody's gonna want to be a werewolf. You've always got so many different styles of lycanthropy. I think you can really sort of mess with it quite a bit.
Yeah, because I'd want to run afflicted like Jekyll and Hyde style, or like a
Mm,
Hulk, where this like muscular entity like breaks out from like a small meek character.
that'd be very fun.
It'd be very cool.
Yeah.
So that's two martial classes, which is really good.
Mhm.
Do we want like ranged or like casters, perhaps?
Yeah, I think so. I think ranged maybe sort of falls into martial, but I get what you mean with casters. I think there's a lot you could do with some like basic spells.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
Like I was thinking like witches would be
yeah,
interesting.
I think if you had like a witch, there's a lot you could do with it. Like again, we mentioned like that fear system. I think maybe their fear is getting found out.
Oh, that's cool. So like there's like a hiding aspect to your magic.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I think with these sort of things where they're based, it's like witch trial times, right? So I think like being a witch gets you sort of ousted from a village. So I think it could be quite fun for it to be like being a witch is something that in this setting gets you sort of put to the stake. So it'd be interesting if sort of that's a thing they have to hide.
Yeah, that's really fun. I like that a lot. Just like new stakes, new loss conditions, new win conditions.
Yeah, 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 exactly. Dying isn't. Oh, I mean, dying is obviously the worst thing that could happen, but there's like ways to get there, sort of thing. So it's like it's not just when you get into fights. I think with it, like your party could accept you, but then like the rest of the population isn't going to, and so then
Yeah,
you've still got those stakes. And I think it ties in role play like encounters into your sheet still, where it's like you don't just sort of fully switch off from things being able to change and move while you're like in conversation and out of combat.
yeah, there's no distinct line between the two. You could die at any point.
Yeah, 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 exactly.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Um, I don't think there is a difference really between ranged and martial. I kind of guess I meant support, um,
Yeah.
which traditionally I feel is like Godbinders from Die, where you've literally got something backing you that heals people because like magically healing people seems so useful. But maybe we could have like an herbalist,
That could be quite fun, yeah.
which would be sort of like conventional medicine.
Hmm.
Um, I guess like component medicine. I'm trying to think of scenarios in fairy tales where a god has sort of been like, "You're chill now, and I'll help you," and all I can land on is like Cinderella fairy godmothers.
Yeah, oh, okay, I know what you mean.
Yeah, which is like, I guess she can turn a pumpkin into a car. That's pretty cool. That's a
Hmm.
cool spell to like. I guess it's just like find steed, but
Yeah.
a pumpkin,
Yeah,
which could be fun.
support for this kind of thing is quite difficult, isn't it? Because it's trying to figure out sort of how you would support. I think maybe instead of having a support class, we split up support abilities into everybody. Like we said with Marshall having like rally, it's
I
stuff
like
like
that.
that so that then like everybody's trying to help each other, but no one person in particular is sort of like babying the party. But I mean,
Perhaps every character by default has a healing ability. It's like an action you can take in combat.
yeah.
So no one can heal themselves. You have to heal other people.
Oh, I quite like that.
Maybe tankier characters can like heal a bit of the damage they just took. That could be interesting.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Like they have to like will their way through a hit they've taken. Yeah, I really like the sound of that.
Yeah, like to benefit one character being like frontline could be fun. Okay, I like the idea of having essentially two classes, but one of them's like your Call of Cthulhu. I sell mattresses, and the other one's I can move objects with my brain.
Yeah,
That's quite fun.
I think that'd be really interesting.
I know the Marvel tabletop does something similar
Hmm.
in that, like, if you want a character to have two different power sets, it gets access to both their um, ability trees,
Yeah.
which is interesting. I could look into that a bit more before next week, see if there's anything there.
I think that's one of the things that we're gonna use to help sort of further this tabletop is that we haven't currently read a lot of different tabletops. We've ventured outside of fifth edition. It's not just the one that everyone's playing, but the amount that we've read is kind of slim currently. So I think these ideas are gonna like adapt and evolve into different sort of versions as we go along to try and sort of finalize this.
Oh, definitely,
Yeah,
definitely. I've just scribbled down a couple of ideas for backgrounds.
yeah, go for it.
Um, so like your Prince X, so your damsel or your dashing prince, whatever, because that's a lot of it is like royalty in
Yes, yeah,
in fairy tales. Perhaps that gives you like sway, or you have to hide because you're meant to be, um, in the castle. You've got a bit of a target on your back. Maybe there's some political intrigue.
yeah.
Um, I've put child of fortune or misfortune,
Oh, okay.
garden knight,
Yeah.
runaway, and traveler. But I guess traveler's like your woodsman, and I like that as a class. Like I like that as its whole thing.
Hmm.
So I'm
No,
not
I see
sure
what you
about
mean.
that one.
No, I think that could work. I think that you could be like a traveler and still like the caster that we mentioned. I think both sides
Oh,
should
that's
be able to, yeah, like mix with one another.
yeah, I like that. Um, I guess what I want to ask you is how silly are the playable races? Because this sounds quite like you're playing a human,
I
but I like the idea of a world that's more colorful than that.
Yeah, I think you should have the option to have a more like monstrous appearance. Whereas like with the lichen, you can obviously like swap in and out. I think I think you should have like yeah the monstrous alternatives like uh gnomes or maybe even like a Pinocchio style.
Oh, like a puppet boy?
Yeah, I think that'd be a fun race to
Oh,
try out.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know what that would entail, but that's cool. I like that a lot.
I think it'd be interesting if you played like a puppet boy Lycan that they swap to a normal boy as their Lycan
Swap to a
ability.
normal boy.
I think it'd
That's
be
so funny. I
I
use my Lycan ability to feel the touch of a human for the first time.
but like that's their curse and they know eventually like that's what's you know what I mean they like they'll slowly start to lose control of it and maybe that'll be the sort of issue or like the other way around, I don't know
They
I
don't
think
want to
there's a
get
lot you could
stuck
do.
as a puppet boy.
Yeah.
That's cool. I know you wanted lizard and dog folk before we started this pod. Before we knew what we were doing, you were like, lizard folk. No matter what this ends up as, you could be a lizard.
Oh,
I was like, okay,
that
I
is
don't know where this is going.
that is true, but
Um,
we have moved quite a bit now.
we have hound folk, I feel could work. If you had like mastiff people, I think
Yeah,
that's still
I
in the
think
realm. But I think lizards aren't. Um, I guess, European enough for the kind of myths we're leaning on. I guess you could have
Yeah,
expansion where you pick on different.
I think yeah, no, that's true. I do think for the basis that we're at currently, they'll need to be yeah, we'll need to sort of like tie it down quite a bit. So I don't think that lizard folk are gonna work right
Mm.
now. But yeah, I think later down the line something like that could work really well.
Yeah, I was thinking more like how Killer Croc's described in the original DC comics. It's just like a guy with a skin condition whose teeth and fingernails were filed down to points. But I guess that's your afflicted.
Yeah, that could
That's
be
your
another.
lycanthropy power.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
but I guess Carnival Act could be an interesting background.
Yeah, that could be really interesting.
Like you're unique, and it's not like a main character syndrome. It's people have treated you horribly because you're a green witch or
Yeah, like
you're hairy all over or whatever.
yeah, you've got this sort of like freak show talent. It is how it would have been like branded, and you've sort of
Yeah.
got this small community that you've found that you've sort of joined that's helped you sort of, travel around and stuff. I think that could be really good.
And I guess there's nothing that stops you from being like, everyone in my party is a circus person, but some of them are children of misfortune or some of them are knights. But we all herald from the carnival. Only one of us has the background. Like it doesn't stop you from
Mm,
writing that into your story if you don't like the background power set.
yeah, no, I think that works really well.
I like these. I like these a lot. So we've got Woodsman,
Mhm.
Afflicted, and then was it Witch?
Yes, which
I like that a lot. Um, I did have Fanatic written down, which was going to be the Warlock counterpart,
okay.
but I don't know if that fits anymore. You know?
I mean, pitch it, see how it goes. What are you thinking?
Well, I was just thinking someone that's obsessed with something. So it could be like a in world religion, it could be in world science. So you've got your like Victor Frankensteins or your in world warlocks where they obsess over maybe an object or a specific rumor they've heard. Could be interesting.
Yeah, I think that could be really fun because I think it'll be like sort of like Gollum almost, where you're like
Yeah.
your fear is gonna be your like fear will start to ramp up when other people figure out what you're obsessed with and start to like catch on to it, and maybe they start to worry about you and try and take it away from you.
Yeah, the idea that you could lose the thing you're obsessed with, so like your bond to a creature or like you know what I mean?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Like a fanatic could be someone who's obsessed with the protection of the woods, or like
Yeah.
someone who's obsessed with the king. Like you could play the creepy king's advisor.
That'd be really fun.
Um, so maybe they've got some sort of ritual they have to do that buffs them for a period of time.
Yeah.
So you have to take like maybe you forfeit an action to have a like 3 round buff.
Mm,
Could be cool.
that could be really fun. Like you
Uh,
sort of yeah. No, I really like that.
like you call upon the thing that you're obsessed with.
Yeah.
Like Laughley's from Green Lantern. That's a reference people get.
I I'm fully lost on that one. Sorry, you're gonna have to.
He's the
What do you think?
Orange Lantern. He's the
Mhm.
Orange. He's the only one who has an Orange Lantern because I believe he kills anyone else that gets one.
Oh, okay. So it's yeah. So it's
Because
greed.
his it's greed, yeah. It's avarice, which is just like compelling greed. But yeah,
Yeah. I think with the other ones there's quite a clear like example. I think with this one we're gonna need to sort of set out an example so that it makes sense so that people can sort of understand the format. So say you were gonna build a character in this class, what would you do?
so maybe I'd have like that Victor Frankenstein or like an Eldritch fanatic, so someone who's obsessed with maybe the concept of life after death. and then that character could have like I guess it's cleric, right?
Yeah, but like
Like a
bumped up.
one-sided cleric. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like an extremely bumped up cleric that's just so like fully obsessed with their god that they like refuse to listen to reason.
Yeah, but it's like a concept. Like they've got no proof. Cleric without proof,
Hmm.
which is terrifying.
Yeah, it sounds
Um,
really fun. I think if you, I think if I was going to do it, I would have it be like obsessed with a cult. I think is the way that I
yeah,
would go about it, and the more that that sort of transpires, I guess your fear would start to ramp up as you realize that either you aren't good enough for it or that it's not real. And I think
yeah,
that could be really fun.
yeah. Like sand slipping through your fingers kind of thing.
Yeah.
I
It's
like,
like so intangible that the more that you have to like listen to reason, you either double down and deny it and say like, oh well, belief gets me through this, or
yeah,
you kind of understand that yeah, you're maybe worshipping like a false god, and that
I
sort of
like I like the idea that they act as like a totem as well. So like they offer passive bonuses for periods of time
mm,
to either themselves or those around them. I think that's a class that isn't. I can't point at one that does that. All I can think is that there's a couple of Hearthstone cards that do it. Um,
no, but
but
I
that could be
think
interesting.
that's another thing that might help a lot is that like pulling fun things from stuff other than tabletops, because otherwise it's like a a mismatch of a bunch of other tabletops like ideas put into this, whereas like if we're trying to create like new mechanics and stuff, it does become really intriguing and interesting to play around with.
Yeah, yeah. I did have a thought that was like you hand out, you have like a deck of cards
Okay.
and you hand them out, and they're like the werewolf game where one of you's a
Oh,
werewolf and the rest of you are like you get randomly allocated roles,
yeah.
but it would be your like curse. So potentially you don't get cursed. So maybe most of the cards aren't bad.
Oh,
But like
okay.
maybe the DM has to go if you've got a party of five, you do three curses and two like non-curses.
Hmm.
You hand them out to the players, and the players have those as like secret afflictions.
That could be really fun. I kind
Could
of
be
like the sound of
interesting.
that. Yeah. How would you think of like tying that into to everything else that sort of is currently running? How do you?
Well, I imagine it would be like your father was turned into a frog, or like you know like it's things that are still
Oh,
in camp.
like what is it? There's I think it's Kids on Bikes, and I think Kids on Brooms because that's the one that I've played through. But Kids on Bikes does like a thing where you collaboratively like tell the history of the place. So it'd kind of be like that where or like the opposite of that where like the DM sort of helps write people's backstories and like almost has like tables to determine certain ways of how people have come about.
Yeah, or it could be things as simple as like you can't enter a religious place; it would hurt you,
Yeah,
or
I really
like
like the sound
you're
of that.
scared of fire. Things like that, which are just they just make the character a little bit
Yeah,
more
helping to like layer
detailed.
people's characters.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think having something like that, like on cards, could really help. Just as something extra little to like add to your sheet. Even like if it's not on cards, it's just like added to the sheet. Little notes like that would help so much to layer your character and help it feel like you aren't just playing, oh I hide in a corner and I really brood.
I am the coolest man that ever lived. I sit in the corner and I kiss everyone's wives. Like it's
I
yeah.
think I think everybody's made a character like what I mentioned at first. You
Oh
know,
yeah. Oh yeah, fully. Fully. I made a guy that was hunting a baby down.
that's true. It was difficult to kill, but just so we're so we're all on the same
Kill.
page.
Just kill. I was hunting a baby down to kill, which isn't good, but is better than the alternative.
It could be worse, but yeah, I think everybody's made a character like that. I'm
Oh,
trying.
definitely.
Trying to think of when I've.
You must have done.
I think I have. I think I had a lot of games before we started playing together, which I think is where I weeded out some of my
Yeah.
worst
Most of yours
ideas.
have been good. Most of yours have been good.
I don't think you've had a bad idea. Like even the one that you mentioned made sense.
Yeah, it took a lot of explaining.
It takes a lot of
Because
explaining.
I think originally I wanted to play as the baby, and you were like, "You're not bringing a baby into Strahd," and I was like, "Why not? I don't know anything about this
Please, it makes
Strahd. I think a
sense.
baby would be fine." You were like, "No." I was like, "Fine, I'll play the man that wants to kill the baby."
It was like a
Uh,
a god curse
yeah,
thing. You
yeah. The it was to prevent him from reincarnating. He was forever a baby, so he was a grown man.
yeah. Yeah, that's the kind of thing. It's Grogu. You're fine to kill the baby if they're actually 500, you know?
Yeah,
I think he's 50.
yeah. He's 50. Yeah,
They punch him, it's fine, he's 50.
he's 15. He goes through so much trauma. I think I've watched too many. I think programs forget that you can't do the vilest thing to just like random people.
Yeah, but tabletops.
Yes,
Yes,
the thing we're here for.
the thing we're here for.
Um, yeah, I feel like we should put in place maybe things that are like don't play a baby, but also why not?
Yeah, no, I kind of get what you mean. I
That's your
think
Pinocchio.
Yeah, I think I really like the Pinocchio one. I think in between these, I think we're going to be pitching concepts and then writing down the sort of less fun like mechanics of them in
Yeah,
between, and then coming
yeah.
back and sort of having them as a PDF that we can sort of leave as like free access.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I feel like um in between there is space to create interesting things based on the discussion. I think with now we're able to do that, which is really cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I think we've got a couple. We've got what? Folk hero, afflicted, fanatic, and witch.
Yes, yeah, which is a good base. I think to keep it as simple as possible, four is a strong, solid number. So I think next episode is probably where we're gonna come into like races a little bit more and fully sort of flesh out that idea and throw back and forth more of what we kind of touched on here.
Yeah, yeah. Now we've got kind of a basis for how wild we're going. Um, because Carl's gonna have to rein me in a little bit, I feel. But
I mean, lizard
I think
folk.
lizard folk
We're
would
both
be
gonna
fun.
be, but in a
Yeah, we're both gonna.
fantasy horror setting.
Yeah, to like ground. I'm the guy that played the human in Strahd. Carl's the guy that's pitched Time Wizard Axolotl that rides around in a big robot mech.
It makes
So
sense. It just needs
uh,
some explaining.
we've got we've got different approaches.
We have very different approaches to quite a bit, but yeah,
Yeah, which is good. And you'll see that next week on
yeah.
Encounter Proposal.
Thank you very much
Thank
for
you for
listening.
listening. Yeah, thank you for listening. Bye.
Bye.